Hey guys, Nathan here. I'm literally sitting down on my bed right now because a couple days ago I saw The Exorcist Believer, and I don't even want to sit down and do a proper review of this movie. I don't even want to sit down over there, turn on my lights, set up a bunch of the stuff, and take down notes on this movie to do an actual full review on this movie, because this movie sucked. Let me just say right out the gate, this movie sucked. And not because it was a bad movie. Not only was it a bad movie, it was also an offensive film. So, I watched the original Exorcist, and it's not the scariest movie of all time to me, but it is a film that I can understand why 50 years ago people were horrified about it, people were scared of it. This movie completely loses that through a lot of things, and now I went in with skepticisms. I don't know if David Gordon Green was the right person to do it, but it's just not a very good movie. So, right off the bat, the characters they put in this movie are brutally unlikable, and they make worse decisions throughout the runtime of the film. Which our lead character, as they reveal more things about him and his past and everything, like, just not a particularly good way to show your lead character or anything like that. But even beyond that, some of the other characters just seem so selfish in the choices that they decide to make, especially near the end of the movie, that it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You don't want to root for these characters. You don't want to see them succeed. So right off the bat, the characters are just extremely, extremely unlikable. But even beyond that, it even doesn't even feel like a worthy continuation of The Exorcist, as, like, literally by the end of it, there are different religions and factions coming in to do an exorcism, and they just won't let a normal exorcism with one religion take place. It just doesn't let that happen. So therefore, it just didn't work on that level at all for me. As an Exorcist film, it just didn't work. From there, as you could tell from the trailers, Chris returns in this movie, and she's barely in it. Let's just face it, she is barely in this film. Maybe has 5 minutes of screen time, but I think less than that in this movie. Less than 5 minutes of screen time is what she's given in the film. The actress made it very clear she didn't want to return for this movie, and they gave her the script, and the reason she accepted is that they offered her a lot of money, and that she would pay for some sort of scholarship. Therefore, it seems just very forced to cast her in this movie. It's just, I don't know, it's just something felt off about the way she was used in it. And I feel like it was all just because of marketing to get butts in seats, and that just feels cynical. That doesn't feel right. And so, that's not a very good way to bring back your actress. And as legacy sequels, it doesn't really work, because David Gordon Green did the trilogy of Halloween films as legacy sequels, and Chris MacNeil doesn't have the same energy that Jamie Lee Curtis or what Laurie Strode has. They're just not the same characters. It doesn't work well with Halloween and The Exorcist. And even beyond that, with David Gordon Green, he's clearly not the right person to do a legacy sequel to The Exorcist, and because doing a legacy sequel to Halloween itself is very different from doing a legacy sequel to The Exorcist. Even if you erase all those movies, Halloween and The Exorcist are two very different horror movies. One is a slasher movie and one's a demonic possession movie, and they are two different films that are classics for two different reasons. And so I just don't think, having seen this film, I just don't even think he was the right person. And even some of the plot feels very, very off, as typically, I don't normally like generic, just by the numbers horror movies. This movie is another generic by the numbers horror possession movie, but somehow it manages to tackle on offensive and just off-putting things in here where like I don't want to go into spoilers here, but like at the end there's some certain things that happen where it doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense with where these characters will be at after this horrible thing that has happened, like, and it also kind of offends the religions that the movie contains. Like, I just it didn't sit well with me. It didn't work on any level for me. And like, it's slick, it's well produced, I guess. Like, the acting is quite fine, but from the characters to the plot to the ending to the messaging and whatever they were trying to do at the end of this movie, I just didn't like it at all. So over, my final score on this one is a D-, very close to being an F. Like, I struggle to say anything good about this movie. So to all my YouTube buddies out there, to everybody watching this, do not watch this movie if you haven't seen this movie. It is horrible. It sucks. And do not watch it. So over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Share what you thought of The Exorcist Believer if you were one of the unlucky people to watch it. And I will see you in the next one.